Hello, everyone. This is the first time I'm testing the microphone, so I'm assuming you all can hear me. Hopefully. Thank you for coming, first of all. As I look around, I can see that there's a lot of cops here, and I'm really hoping that there's at least one lawyer somewhere in case I say something incriminating, which is a very good possibility.
We got him here.
Okay, so I'm going to just let everybody know, don't be shy. I'm not going to be shy. I brought the big box for you. Wow, this is weird. All right. A lot of people like today, and not even just today, but since my father passed away, and by the way, I'm not fighting Sean. Since my father passed away, have come up to me and said, sorry for your loss. And that's really, it means a lot, but it also sounds weird in a sense to me because I feel like I should be saying it to that person as well. I really feel like my father was everyone's loss. He touched everyone's life in a certain way. And so I know that's why we're all here today, to kind of remember my father and kind of, just go through the good times and kind of share the sad times as well. I got some awesome note cards that I decided to take out of order, I guess. Bear with me. This ran really well in my practice room. I do want to talk about what my dad meant to me and what he taught me as when I was a boy. He was really big on as a little boy on teaching me to be a man. And some of the things he did that really stuck out to me that as a child I didn't necessarily understand or appreciate, that I definitely appreciate today, was shaking someone's hand like a man. That was always a big thing with him. When I'd meet some of his work buddies, he would make sure, give somebody a good firm handshake, be confident in yourself. But another thing was using someone's name to show respect. Don't use he and she. And stuff like that really made a huge difference in how I am as a person. And I thank my father for all of that, for all those little things he taught me. Another thing he taught me, which we're kind of doing right now, is every time I see him on the weekend, the very first thing we'd have to do is we'd have to visit. This would be like his little keyword. First thing we would do is visit with family, visit with friends, and we did all that before any type of fun and games, any type of video games or whatever. The most important thing for him was definitely spending time with people around you, and do that first before you go have your kind of your own time. And so that's what we're going to be doing here today. Is just a lot of visiting and a lot of meeting new people and having some good times. Hopefully, that's what we're shooting for here. But with my dad, not every weekend was really fun and games. We definitely had a lot of fun. But my dad did teach me a lot of with responsibility. Some of the things that we did together actually that taught me responsibility was we would go to my grandmother's house, Eleanor, and every few weekends, and we would visit. Obviously, first thing we did, and then we would go out. We'd have to mow her lawn, and he would have me do the weeding, and it was one of those things that really just taught me responsibility. And as well, it was nothing that we ever did that he ever told me to do. He was always a part of it. He was always doing something with me. And this is, I didn't bring a PowerPoint remote, so I'm chewing gross.
Yeah,
I should have turned around and actually looked at that. And then that's, and we actually did this as well. This was actually, well, at least for me, it was an entire weekend. I want to say overall, it was maybe like 4 days. We built an entire deck in his backyard. That's what we did. We didn't just sit there and watch TV and do nothing. We spent time together. We built this deck. I am going to take credit for most of the deck. I think my dad's wife Jill can actually verify that it was a project that I really got into. Spent a lot of time on figuring out all the math behind maximizing the amount of wood we have and utilizing it right. But it was just there's actually a lot of. I know on here there's only one photo, but there's actually a lot of photos of us building this deck, all the way from him digging out the roots of the trees to the staining the final product. So that was actually a great time. By the way, I will let you know on this photo. My dad's actually not working. He just sat in on this photo to he was doing something.
Around the green, hanging on the back.
Yeah, yeah. You know, another thing we did, and that my dad taught me, was caring for others. You know, and I know I'm not in this photo, but I am here. I think I'm sleeping, and I'll explain this in a second.
That's me? Yeah.
And by the way, all these photos are available for everybody here. So find one of you that you really like from 30 years ago or whatever, feel free to take it. This is the Special Olympics dance marathon. And so when I would see my father on the weekends, my father and his wife Jill, and I apologize for just saying my father, but when I would see them on the weekends, I would, usually on Sundays, you know, be going back to work on Monday, so that'd be kind of the end of our time together. And I remember on this particular weekend, I mean, I'll never forget this. It was a Saturday, and my dad's like, "Hey, Sean, we've got to kind of cut the weekend short because I have to do this the Special Olympics dance marathon, and it's 24 hours. It's, you know, it's going to start Saturday night at whatever time. It's going to go all the way through Sunday, 24 hours later." And I was disappointed. I was going to lose an entire day spending with my father, and I know my father was disappointed as well that he was losing an entire day with me. And so I kind of, and he was telling me a little bit more about the Special Olympics dance marathon. He said, you know, there's every 4 hours they have free McDonald's. All you need, like, you get a little 15-minute sleep break. And I mean, the moment he said free McDonald's, I mean, at this point, I'm like 8 or 9 years old. I mean, this is like my dream come true. So he ends up, you know, working it out where that it's like, hey, okay, Sean's going to come do this thing with me. He figured I'm going to last a couple hours, and then I can go stay at areas where you can sleep, and I'm just going to go sleep after that. And I actually made it the entire 24 hours. I got a medal. Like I said, I was 8 or 9, so I wasn't really dancing. I would say more running in place. But I did make it. I made it the entire time. And then Jill came and picked us up from the Seattle Center. We're both, you know, my father and I are both tired. And this is a Sunday afternoon. And I apparently, if I remember this, I instantly fell asleep in Jill's car when she was driving. My dad had to carry me inside, put me in bed. And I woke up in the morning, and I was like, okay, it's Monday, I gotta go to school. Well, apparently it was actually Tuesday morning. I slept through all through Sunday, all through Monday. And the reason I wanted to say that this really shows, you know, where my dad talked about caring for others, is because this was a charity event that we were doing. My parents are not the type of parents to let me skip a day of school just because. I mean, it's like your responsibility to go to school. But because of this particular event, I think everybody felt like, hey, you know what, Sean can take a day off of school because we're doing something for a good cause for other people, not just for us. And in teaching lessons, my dad actually taught me lessons when I needed to be taught a lesson, you know, little life lessons. I remember, again, this is back when I was very young, this was all about me being a boy and growing into a man. I had this wood desk, you know, just a little wood desk in my bedroom, and I had some friends over. And we took this, I want to say it was like the compasses, you know, the little eagle on the end of the compass. And we started doing all these carvings in the desk for some reason, writing names, all this stuff. And this desk ended up becoming filled with just carvings. And my mom's side, she was not thrilled. And of course she told my dad, which, I mean, right there was like, all right, this is not a good situation. So my dad, so he picks me up on Friday and he said, yeah, I heard about your desk. And I was scared. I said, yes. And he goes, we're going to talk about that later. And that's what he said. And I spent 3 days, like inside, scared. We never talked about this desk for 3 days. The whole 3 days I was with him. He never brought it up. Everything went the same. And on Sunday we go visit my grandmother. And one thing that we'd sometimes do is he'd go to 7-Eleven when we were at my grandmother's house, which is literally like a quarter of a mile away. And we'd even hop in his truck just to go there and pick some stuff up. And so it's getting to the end of my time with him over the weekend. And he goes, hey, we're going to 7-Eleven, do you want to come with? And I said, yeah, sure. Figuring, all right, was it for 3 minutes? And he goes, okay. And he goes, we're going to walk. And we walked, yeah. I mean, I to this day, like that has had such an impact on me. We walked to 7-Eleven. I spent 3 days just waiting for this conversation that I didn't want to deal with, and this is what we're doing. And he talked to me, and he let me know that you need to learn to, appreciate what you have. You can't do that. It's wrong. All the lessons of what I did. And I don't even think it was really that. It was just the impact of this 3 days of waiting. And into this day, because we have all these cops here, that is I know some of you are probably telling the story. You're like, oh yeah, that's somewhere in the detective handbook. This detective handbook. Tip 102, how to get the confession and the guiltiness and all this stuff. That's what I took it as. So, if it's not in there though, you should definitely throw it in there because this is 30 years later, and I'm still feeling it. I do want to make an important note on that though. Anytime my dad did have to teach me a life lesson, or if I screwed up somewhere and basically I was in trouble, and this is the honest truth. My dad never was abusive with me. Never slapped me, never spanked me, never pulled my arm, never raised his voice. Really, never raised his voice. And the most important thing he always said at the end of any of those conversations was, "I love you." That meant like everything. And it actually had just an impact when he said that. That was like, all right, I failed my dad, and 30 years later, I'm still affected by this desk, so. And I know I just kind of gave you a few stories, at least of what my dad meant to me. I do have some stories of what my dad told me about when he was a kid that I'm sure none of you have, or most of you may have not heard. And so I kind of want to tell you some of the stories that he had told me that I always thought were, amusing in their own way. Really quickly, my dad was born in Chicago in 1945. His family came out of Seattle in 1957, and he ended up graduating Mountain Terrace High School in 1965. Very sure, huh? He actually graduated at the top of his class. And by the way, by top of his class, he was the oldest person in the school. He graduated at the age of 20 from high school, but he did make it. That's why he looks his photo looks so beautiful. It's just, he had a 2-year advantage on everybody else. And then, after high school, he joined the Army. And there he is, Private Jimmy O'Toole. When he did this, if I could do the smile, we would have looked like fans, but that's a big smile right there. And there's a couple things about the Army that I laugh about when my dad tells me about it. And I wouldn't necessarily say he was the model soldier. I will say, along with that, after his time in the Army, the person, the man that he was, and I'll get into kind of all this in a second, I just want to go ahead though I think the Army really just changed him from, being a kid, boy to a man. It really did. I think a lot of the Jim O'Toole that you guys know, a lot of that probably came from the Army. However, that being said, he did tell me one time that he was stationed in Germany, and he did tell me one time that he stole the captain's Jeep and took it out on the Autobahn with one of his buddies. So that probably wasn't very, that's frowned upon apparently in the military. And then the other thing he did is he had to mow the captain's lawn, and you're supposed to mow the lawn uniform, whether it's, horizontally, or I'm assuming horizontally or vertically. He decided to mow diagonally for, just to get the captain's reaction. So, and I think, and I know Jill's had to listen to this story as well with him not getting a good conduct medal. I think he always says it jokingly, like, can you believe I never got a good conduct medal, this and that, but, hearing that from him, my dad, I don't care about the Army part, he deserved a good conduct medal for everything he did after the Army. So it's unfortunate he didn't get one from the Army, but he's always just said, I should have got a good conduct medal, but I definitely know in life, he's definitely earned a good conduct medal. And then, following the Army, he got into law enforcement. He did approximately 2 to 3 years at University of Washington Police Department. Started in 1971, and then it was a big part of his life, which I'm assuming there's at least 1 or 2 of you here from Kirkland. He spent 23 years at the City of Kirkland Police Department, and I want to say about 12 years in, he became Detective O'Toole. For some reason, I think I'm looking at a picture. I do, and I didn't have the notes. Detective O'Toole in the middle there. All right, this is going to be the fun part, in a sense. Not really. This is actually the tough part. There's only one time in my life I've seen my dad cry. And it had to do with a case he was working on with a boy, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this, a boy named Landon. I was 12 years old, and to see your father cry, it said a lot about how much he cared about other people. I mean, because I was his child, and here it is. I'm not going to get into what happened, but there was another child, a young child involved in this case, and it really affected my dad. And again, I was about 12 years old at this time. It was hard to see my dad cry. Even writing this card and trying to read it in front of somebody else, not today, but just kind of practicing, it was really hard to just picture my dad going through that. He really cared about other people. He really was. He was not just a cop. He really cared about what he was doing and the people he was helping in these cases. And unfortunately, because of that, I'm telling you right now from this little boy Landon, which by the way, he's a stack of newspapers this high on that one case, from different Seattle, the American Journal from Kirkland, different dates. I mean, really, I knew how hard his job was emotionally for him. And so from that point on, I didn't ask him about his career as a police officer. I didn't ask about cases because I knew when we were together, he wanted to spend time with me, and I wanted to spend time with him. And I knew, it was just like our time together was a good getaway for him from, some of the rough, tough cases he was working on. So with that being said, what I would like to do is I'd like to bring up retired Detective Ed Malkowski from the Kirkland Police Department to share some of those police stories that he may have, because these are all stories that I've never heard. I mean, I know you guys all had a great time. I just needed my dad was my father. My dad was not a cop to me. That was, our time together was about father-son. So, please welcome Ed Malkowski. And then after Ed talks, we'll bring up an open mic, and definitely feel free to come up and share some stories, some good times, what Jimmy meant to you. It really meant a lot to I know to his wife Jill, to me, and just to come up and just share any thoughts you have.
Like you said, I'm Ed Malkowski. Jimmy and I started in the same year, 1973. I started in September, and he started on Christmas Day in December. But Jimmy, he was a great guy. By the way, he shook your hand, but he always gave me a kiss. And he told everybody he loved them. He told me about 3 times every day. But anyway, I was, I was on, Jimmy was still in patrol, and he was working the motorcycle. This is just an example of, he wasn't a perfect cop. He didn't do everything perfect all the time. So I'm sitting here on Lakeview, and this is at Marsh Park, and I'm doing a surveillance, nighttime surveillance. And all of a sudden, I see some blue lights coming up the road. This is kind of like facing northbound. And it's Jimmy, and he's got some guy. He's pulling over, and the guy pulls over on the other side of the street, and Jimmy's on his bike, and he gets off his bike, pulls up his pants. He didn't have a button. So he pull up his gun belt and get his ticket book out and everything. He's watching it. He doesn't know I'm there. So he's walking up to the car. And he says, "Do I see your driver's license, please?" The guy says, "Sure. You got your registration." And so he gets the registration and everything, and Jimmy says, "I'm going to give you a ticket. You were, I can't remember what it was." And about that time, there's this crash. And I look back, and Jimmy's motorcycle fell. So here Jimmy is, he's standing at this guy's his bike fell over, and he can't pick it up. So Jimmy's standing there, and I don't know what the exchange was, but the guy got out of the car and walked over and helped him pick it up. Jimmy shook his hands and said, "You're good." That's the kind of guy that Jimmy was. And funny all the time, but he was a coward. If you're going to arrest somebody or do something serious, the guy was fantastic. He's the guy you want to have back. But Jimmy was scared to death. Nightmare of insects.
What?
Insects. Spiders, scorpions, hell, even a fly would send you running in terror. So he made the mistake of letting me know that. Because he started it. He would sit there and think of something to do to somebody in the office. And one of his favorite things was taking fingerprint powder and putting it on the telephone. And sending it back down. And then if you didn't get a phone call within a short period of time, he would call you. And you'd pick that phone up and you would have black fingerprint powder all over your ear. So you never knew when he was going to pull a trick on you. But I found out that he was scared of spiders. So one day he got up and just, holy shit, he runs out of his, he said, "There's a spider in there." And so I walked in there, and here's this little ass spider on the floor. It's not going to cause him any problem. So I went over and stepped on it for him, and he was good to go. But he made the mistake. So one Halloween, I found out that you could get those in bags, they're different sizes. And I got this really big fox. And so he'd be sitting over there thinking real hard, and I'd stand up and toss one of those spiders over on his desk. Literally, he would stand up and start running out the front door. But anyway, Jimmy was a good guy. He had a great sense of humor. He was always smiling and laughing. And it was an absolute pleasure to be with him. Thank you.
So feel free to take your time, but I think everybody kind of here wants to hear what others have to say. So we'll just kind of leave it open and feel free to come up and say a few words or share some stories. We'll go from there.
Hi, I'm Lenny Hayes. I worked with Jimmy for 15, 16 years at Kirkland PD. I have a story to tell that no one but Ed Malkowski in this room can probably verify this because they weren't there. But one summer, Jim and I and Art Clifford, the chief of police at the time, and a friend of ours named Paul, decided we were going to hike from Colonial Creek Campground, which is up near Lake Diablo Lake, all the way to Sahikin, overland. A 4-day hike. So we planned and planned and prepared. Jimmy somehow, I don't remember how he did it, but he got his car spotted in Chelan, so we'd have a ride back. And Ed, bless his heart, drove us all the way from Kirkland to Colonial Creek Campground and dropped us off. And we camped there that night. Everything was fine. Everything was perfect. It was beautiful weather. We were going to have a grand time. We got up the next morning to start our 3-day hike. We were we were camped for 4 nights, and it started raining. And it continued raining for the entire 3 days. And it rained only like it can rain in the North Cascades. It didn't really rain. We thought we were in a car wash sometime. I shared a small tent with Jim, and I didn't get any sleep the first 2 nights because everything was wet, as I said. And Jimmy was quite relaxed and at home because he slept and he snored so badly that I didn't get any sleep. On the 3rd night, however, it rained even harder, so that there was about 1 inch of water on the inside of the floor of our tent. And Jimmy, because we were hiking in the North Cascades and he was afraid of bugs and bears, had brought a revolver with him. In his pack, it probably weighed 170 pounds. And he laid there all that night watching his gun rust. And I was able to sleep. But that's the kind of guy he was. He would go on. You come up with an adventure and Jimmy would go on. He was a grand guy. I loved him. Everybody that knew him loved him. I never saw Jimmy mad. I only saw him laugh. Here's to Jimmy. May you be dead a while before the devil knows you're gone.
I was the young lady, and I emphasize young, at the dance marathon. Jimmy was such a good friend to support me and to do things like that with me for Special Olympics. I met Jimmy, I worked with him at Kirkland PD for, same as Lenny, 15, 16 years. I started there on my 2nd day, I met Jimmy. He was the first street cop I met. I met all the guys in the office, Reichert, and who else is here, Stokes, and I forget who else is here now that was in the office. They seem like pretty decent guys. I've never been around cops before, so what do I know, right? So my 2nd day there, one of the dispatchers says, "Oh, Nita, come here, you gotta meet O'Toole." And she goes, "O'Toole, come in here, you gotta meet the new girl." So I walk out into the dispatch center, and O'Toole comes swaggering in. It's only O'Toole could do, we all know that swagger. He's working motors, so he's got his boots on, he's got his helmet on, he's all macho. He comes up and stands about a foot from me, he whips out his nightstick, and begins to swing it all around in my face. And he whips it back, and he sticks it back in his shoulder, and grins. "Nice to meet you, dude." Oh, this guy's crazy. I don't know what I got into, but this guy's crazy, I tell you. So, another thing I remember about Jimmy, did any of you ever smoke a cigarette with him and lose your lighter? Jimmy'd say, "Come on, kid, let's go out and have a smoke." Grab my cigarette, grab a lighter, and go out there, and I'd light up. He'd say, "Oh, let me borrow your lighter," and he'd light it in his pocket. Half the time he did it so slickly, I think it was kind of a game to him. So I know somewhere, Sean and Jill, there's a drawer full of lighters. If you guys haven't found it yet, you're going to find it, right? So. And then the last thing I'd like to say about Jimmy, he was a good friend. He was a very good friend to me. There was a time when I was going through some real financial hardship. And I didn't talk about it, but somehow Jimmy knew it. And he came up and sat at my desk one day. He laid a $100 bill down on my desk. I looked down, I looked at him, and I said, "What's this?" He said, "It's for you. What's it look like?" And I said, "No, I don't need that." He goes, "You take that and put it in your wallet. I just want to know you have it. And if you ever need more," there's a whole lot more where that one came from. I put that $100 bill in my wallet. I never had to use it. But over several years later, I gave it back to him. But it gave me a lot of comfort every time that I was 3 or 4 days before payday and I had no money left, and I'm thinking, geez, how am I gonna make this? I go, no, I have $100. I'm fine. So, Jimmy, buddy, thank you for that, because you gave me a lot of comfort all that time, just knowing that money was there. So, thank you.
Okay. Jimmy was a kisser. He was. He'd kiss anything. And as my lovely wife will attest to, some photographs that she's been going through drawers, and she'll come out, and here will be a photograph of Jimmy kissing somebody. It's a lot of the times me. And going, really? She says, really? Really? He says, yeah, it's Jimmy. It's Jimmy. Jimmy loved everybody. And a story that John and I have told 1,000 times is we used to do a lot of motorcycle trips, and Jimmy had always come with us on Gladys's bike. And the reason we called him and his bike Gladys is because he had this affinity for every time we stopped anywhere for a refreshing adult beverage, fuel, mechanical stuff, whatever. He was in the tourist section of whatever place that was, buying little shot glasses and little spoons and things like that. But by the end of the trip, that bike was packed with little spoons and shot glasses and stuff. And his little book that he, every time he stopped for gas, he'd write the mileage, where we were going, where we'd been. And we'd sit there and, what the hell are you doing? He says, back in the saddlebag. And I always told him if he ever wrecked that bike, there would be stuff. There would be this plume of trinkets for a half a mile up the freeway. So one day we're blasted, and I forget where we were going. We're in Wyoming. And there's this little town in Wyoming. Is it Lewistown? No, that was Montana. Lewistown, Montana. Now, Lewistown, Montana is one street and maybe 4. There's a railroad track here, so there's only 4 going this way. Then you're back up on the freeway and you're good. That's Lewistown, Montana. So Jimmy, as typical, is riding about a mile and a half behind us. He liked his own space. And John and I pulled into Lewistown, Montana. We decided to go have a refreshing adult beverage. And the place that we normally go was all boarded up or something like that. So we went up one of the 3 or 4 side streets, found another place, parked the bikes right there on the curb. Okay, John was riding an Indian, which at that time, how many Indians were there? There was that one, especially in Lewistown, Montana. So the bikes are parked there, we're in there, and we're waiting. John calls Jimmy, he says, yeah, we're, come into town, take the first street right, we'll see the bikes. Okay, so we're sitting there and we're having our beverages, and all of a sudden, 15, 20 minutes later, John's phone rings, and it's Jimmy. He goes, I can't find him. Okay, Jimmy. The center, center of town, you get a little right street, you pull up and see the 2 bikes sitting right there by the curb. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. 15, 20 minutes later, phone rings again. It's Jimmy. I can't find him. Okay, so this goes on and on and on, and now all the other people in the bar, guys in there, got to go change a wheel line, but maybe a couple of more shorts, So they're all leaning in. They're becoming part of this. Okay, so now everybody's going, where is this guy? The phone keeps ringing. He says, I can't find him. Okay, Jimmy, you got to go, blah, 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 blah. So maybe, what was it, an hour of this going on? About an hour. You hear a and up he comes and backs up at the curb, and Jimmy comes sauntering on in through the door, as only Jimmy can. And the first words out of your mouth was, everybody was sitting there, and they all turned around, and everybody in the whole place knows this is the guy that couldn't find us in the bar. And the first words out of your mouth was, and you used to be a detective. Anyway, That was Jimmy. He was a great guy, fun guy, had a heart this big, and you know what? It was a pleasure and an absolute, from the bottom of my heart, I love the guy.
I'm Dick Pearsall. I worked with Jim when he was at UWPD. And to set the record straight, the kissing thing did not start. You've got to explain that among yourselves. Jim was someone, I spent 30 years at UWPD and retired several years ago. Jim was the type of cop that I like to have work for me and to represent the department. He liked people. He went out of his way to talk to people. He went out of his way to help people. Even at some point to an embarrassment. Early on, we had a conference on campus and there was a large bus full of Hawaiians that came to the conference. We're working graveyard. Jim's up by the dorms. This load of Hawaiians get off with the white pants and the hula skirts and the flowers and the bright shirts. And he walked up to him and he says, "Welcome to America. Have you been here before?" This guy says, "This is our first time stateside." "Oh, yes, well, have a good week." He came back out in his car and he says, "I think we should leave." I had the distinction, and at the time when Jim and Chris got married, I had a ministerial license, and they asked me to marry them. And so I tell people that I've married 2 policemen in my life, and I'll try to explain it. But Jim and I are up on the platform waiting for the ceremony to start. Church about half full, all the cops, all the wives, all the friends, and all that. Jim leans over and he says, "Do you know how many guns there are in this place tonight?" He says, "We better not screw up." But go ahead. You know, I enjoyed working with him. He liked people. He liked doing his job. He got in some trouble once, a car accident. I don't know if it had anything to do with the Jeep in Germany or what, but he got a couple of days off. And he came back to work. And the cops here know you watch officers like that. How's that going to be when they get back? Jim came back, got his keys, got his car, and went back to work. Never a grouse, never boy, I don't know why they did me this way, whatever. He was a man, Sean. I mean, he took responsibility for what he did, and you had a great father.
Hello, my name's Stephanie. I grew up in Kirkland. I'm so old that I used to ride my horse down to the cop shop and tie him up in the back and go through the back door of the police station where the jails were. Nita, do you remember me? Yeah. I mean, not from, yeah, you were after that. But Thelma Weaverich was down there then, and a lot of the old guys. I've got a lot of stories about Jim. Jim saved my life and siblings and friends, you know, back then when you were at a keg. The cops would just come and follow you all home and sit out in front of your house. Make sure you didn't sneak back out. But one night, I was about 18, and I was in my dad's Delta 88, yellow, white leather interior, ugly, ugly car, but it was free. And I was at a party with some friends, and my girlfriend wanted me to ditch her so she could have a guy ride with her to go to the next party. One of you ride with his friend on the back of his motorcycle. And I said, okay. And we were going down through Totem Lake, it was probably midnight, and we were going towards Willows Road, so we were going east. There was an accident, and flares and police, and I thought he was going to slow down, and I was wearing the Easy Rider helmet, stars and stripes. I didn't even really know this guy. My friend's behind me in my dad's car, and he went right through this crash, and I thought, oh Christ, this can't be good. And then he gets down to the bottom, down to the valley, and takes a ride on Willows, and it's foggy, and he starts, all at once I hear a roo, roo, and it was a cop behind us. So Jim had been, I didn't know it was Jim, but he had been at that wreck. And he started chasing us and doing 120 miles an hour or so along the valley, through the fog, and on the back of the bike. I'm just saying, baby Jesus, I don't want to die. I'm 18 or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom, sorry, Dad. And I could see out of the corner of my eye, the cop bike would come up to on the side, and then his whole bike would go, and almost stop. Then he'd get back up, you know, and start back up. So we went up Rose Hill, he took a right on 132nd, went down a trail, and I said, I'm out of here, and I jumped off the back of the bike. I hit my head, knocked me out, I'm laying in the woods, and I walked out of the woods eventually, carrying that helmet. And there's a cop waiting for me, and now he's in a car. And just had a hunch, maybe somebody will come out of those woods. As I'm walking towards that car, I had nowhere to go. He starts walking towards me, and all at once he said, holy shit, Stephanie. He had no idea it was me, and I had no idea it was him. He turned white, and he said, I would have laid that bike down but I knew that there was a girl on the back. I had no idea it was you. He took me in the car down to the police station. In the meantime, my girlfriend is in my dad's car looking all over Kirkland for me. And she's at the police station saying, you must know where she is. Jim took the helmet, asked me who it was. I said I really didn't know him. I was hitchhiking. He knew I was lying. And he kept that helmet for years. And it wasn't until that guy was put away for armed robbery, this First Bank in Juanita, probably late 70s, early 80s. I told him, okay, it was Phil Fuchs. He goes, I knew it. But he still wouldn't give me the helmet back. I didn't care, it wasn't my helmet, it was the other guy's helmet. But he was scared to death. And for years and years and years, he thought about that night and thought how lucky I was that he could lay that bike down. Another really quick story, Jim's 40th birthday party. My mom's here as well. We grew up on 6th Street in Kirkland. And I had a surprise 40th birthday party for Jim. So I love parties. I love gatherings. I love getting people together. And so we had it all planned out. Jim's mother and Lenny and Diane were there. Cliff was there. It was a lot of fun, a lot of neighbors, a lot of friends, a lot of family. So he picked me up in his El Camino, and we went down to, I think it was called Jimmy's, and had a couple of cocktails, and he kept saying, Steph, why are you so nervous? I'm pounding the drinks. And I said, I'm okay. The plan was that we were going to drive up to my mom's house on 6th Street, where the party was, and we were just going to honk. Because Mom was going to come out and have a couple cocktails with us. So we get up in front of my mom's house, and I said, honk. And he goes, oh, this goddamn horn hasn't worked in years. Crap. I mean, I'm thinking, how are we going to... So somehow I got to the front door and said, the horn doesn't work, we're here. So we all went out in the back, and he was thrilled. His mom gave him a ring that night that was in the family, I guess, or she had it made out of an old ring. But it's hard to believe that was his 40th birthday. And I thought he was so old, you know. I think I was 14 years younger than him. But anyway, like I said, there's a ton of stories of Jim, and everybody that said that he had a huge heart, he loved to kiss and hug, and he took really good care of everybody. There was no stranger, really. When I bought my first little place in Kirkland, he said, come to my apartment. And I did, and he said, pick out what you want. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, furniture, pots, pans. I mean, it didn't matter. He had a great heart. He was a lot of fun, and he's going to be missed. Here's to Jimmy. I don't have a drink, but.
Hi, I'm Diane Hayes. I'm Lenny's wife, and I have a quick story. In about 1982, I volunteered with the Kirkland Police Department to teach aerobics to get these cops fit. I was a fitness instructor. And they would come in after their shift, and it was in the, what you call that room?
Activity room.
Activity room, which was really small, carpeted, you know, the whole bit. And I had my little boom box, and it was all, you know, donate in the box if you wanted to pay $1. And I'll just never forget the day that Jimmy came to the class the first time in his motorcycle boots and shorts. I mean, we were talking shorts and motorcycle boots. And I can still picture that man to this day in that wonderful costume. He was really fun. He knew how to have fun. We miss you, Jimmy.
I may need it. I was in one of those pictures, in case you don't know. I had the distinction of starting to work with Jimmy at the U, and then went to Kirkland. So I probably worked with Jimmy longer than anybody in here, except for maybe Ron Brothers over here. Yeah, right. Don Cornyn. Sorry about that. I forgot about you, Don. A lot of stories, a lot of memories. One in particular, nice kind of guy. I had a traffic stop down in Juanita. Guy just pulled my chain, something fierce, and I'm yelling and screaming at him through the window. I have his license in my hand. I'm just shaking. Finally, I feel this tap on the back of my shoulder, and Jimmy was there, and he was saying, calm down, calm down. All of the people that are going by, they're rolling their window up as they go by because you're yelling and screaming. Well, eventually I tore the guy's license plate, I don't know how, or driver's license, tore it in half and threw it back at the guy and let him go. I still don't know how I tore it in half, but anyway. Talking about spiders or bugs, one time I had a little plastic spider, and Jimmy was on the phone talking with somebody. I hope it wasn't a suspect or whatever. But anyway, talking with somebody, I threw this spider on his desk. He took the phone and started beating that spider, yelling and screaming. And why he didn't break that phone, I have no idea. But I guess all I can say is thanks for the memory, Jimmy.
The only other person who worked with Jimmy any longer was maybe me.
Okay.
Don Corning, I worked at the U also, and I followed Jimmy about 4 months after he left, and when in December I was in April, so we worked a long time together. I think one of the big things I always found about Jimmy was his humor. And I remember one time we were coming off of Rose Hill, and he was on his bike and he stopped this young girl, and she was drunk, and he got her stopped, did the physical sobriety test, and everything was going good. And he said, no, we got to take her downtown. I said, okay, well, I've got the car, you got the motorcycle, so I took her down. They were sitting there. At the time, we were doing videotapes of all the DWIs, so it was always interesting. And Jimmy started in, he started reading her implied consent. Well, if you're familiar with the verbiage, it says you're also entitled to a breath test at your own expense. Jimmy couldn't get it out. It was always breast test. So the first time he did it, he says, he started in, and you also have the right to an additional breast test at your own expense. Oh, damn. Then the second time, I went back, turned the video off, ran it back, started it again, and walked up, and he started again, read it wrong a second time. And this time, we're all cracking up in the back of the room. And, just about that time, we'd accumulated 2 or 3 other officers, and we were all laughing at him. And he finally just kind of shook his head. He said, oh, you're going to take a minute. And so it was, he started out, and you also have the right to an additional breath test. He finally got it out, and we got through it. So, Jimmy was a great interviewer, interrogator, whatever you want to call it. And I picked up a guy for, he'd basically raped a young 13-year-old gal. But Jimmy was the consummate expert when it came to handling those kinds of interviews. I brought him in, Jimmy took him into one of the back interview rooms and sat him down. He said, he looked at me, he says, would you grab this guy a cup of coffee? And he started off in this, what's your name? And, oh, that's a good name. I got a buddy by that name. And where do you live? Oh, that's a nice area. And before I knew it, he was fast friends with this guy. And by the end of that interview, the guy had admitted he'd done everything and put it on paper. So he was a hell of an interviewer, and I think he was a hell of a cop. So, Jimmy, if I had a drink here, I'd be drinking to you too. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. My name's Eric Olson. I'm with Kirkland PD. I'm currently the chief there. It's not about me. The reason I tell you that is because I ran into Jimmy the first day when I started work back in 1988. I was in the locker room. I was a new guy. I didn't know what I was doing. And here comes this detective into the locker room. And where I had come for as a rookie, you didn't talk to other officers until you were spoken to. So I kind of shuffled out of the way, and he comes right next to me and opens up the locker next to me, and I thought, what do? And he looks at me, sticks out his hand, says, hi, I'm Jimmy, who are you? Well, sir, I'm the new guy. He says, don't call me sir, I'm Jimmy. Okay, Jimmy. And we started talking, and what Jimmy did was he made me feel welcome. And at the end of that conversation, even though it was my first day on the job, he left me with 2 things. One was, I'm really glad you're here at Kirkland working, and if there's anything you need, let me know, and we'll make sure that you're successful. Well, now as chief, when I have new employees come into our department, on the first day on the job or the second day on the job, I schedule about a half hour with them. And what I tell them is, I'm really glad you're here at Kirkland, and if there's anything you need to be successful, you let us know, and we'll try to make you as successful as possible. The other thing about Jimmy that I remember, and Don alluded to it, is he was an amazing cop. I mean, he could interview people. And I remember one night I was a rookie officer and I was up at Evergreen Hospital, and we had a gal who was working as a dancer on Lake City Way. And one thing had led to another, and she'd been only at a cop's memorial service and we talk about sexual assaults and stuff. But anyway, she had been sexually assaulted and I had been sent there, and I'd gone in to talk to her. And this gal hated cops, and she wasn't going to talk to me, and I'm like, really? Just tell me what happened. She said, I hate cops, I don't want to talk to you. Well, because Jimmy was a detective, he'd been called out, and he came in, and it was about 3 in the morning. And he came in looking like he just rolled out of bed, and I was almost apologetic for waking him up. He says, "What do you got?" And I told him, and I said, "I can't get a story. I can't get her statement. Good luck." And he looked at me with this look on his face like a dumb rookie. Which was true. He said, "Did you get her laughing?" I said, "No, she's a victim. I'm not going to make her laugh." And he said, "Watch this." And so the other thing, he said, "Does she know you care about her?" I said, "That's just another call, Jimmy." He says, "No, you got to let her know you care." So we went back into the examining room, and the first thing he does, he sits down and talks nothing about why he's there. He introduces himself and just starts making small chit-chat. One thing led to the next, and I was amazed at how he built this rapport with this gal. And pretty soon he had her laughing. And then he kind of threw in, let's talk about what happened. And she came back with, "Why should I?" And he said, "Because I care." And when he said that, she broke down, started crying. And she gave him the whole story, everything that happened in great detail. And I was amazed. He took that case. As we walked out, it was about 6 a.m. And he said, "That wasn't so tough, was it?" And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" He said, "Let's go get coffee." So we went and got coffee, and after being called out in the middle of the night, spending several hours in the ER taking a victim statement, he then had the time to sit down with a rookie, have coffee and breakfast, and give me some helpful tips on how to take an interview and how to build that rapport and how to let people know you care. So Jimmy is part of our legacy at Kirkland PD. As long as I'm chief, as long as I meet with new employees, I'll ask them, or I'll tell them, "I'm glad you're here. And if there's anything you need to be successful, you let us know." Here's to Jimmy.
One more. I don't like microphones. My name is Bill Stokes, and I was with the Kirk Police Department for quite a while. Jimmy was a detective at the time. Jimmy was a... Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, Jimmy was a detective, and we were in the old building, and I was in my office, and I had had a bad day, really a bad day. And I'm sitting in there, and Jimmy comes up to me, comes into my office, and he says, "What's wrong, Captain?" And I said, "Oh, it's just a bad day." He put his arm around me, kissed me, and said, "I love you." He did it all in one sentence.
See if there's anybody else to share here. Right now, it's one for kind of our final toast here. I want to bring up my uncle and one of my father, Jimmy's very good friends, Peter Melnick.
Okay, I probably owe Jimmy the longest, my father. I met him with 2 girls. He was sitting at a table at the university watching cops windows, the old wing crowd. And he was sitting there, he never danced with either one of them. So I saw this one look about 12 years old. And I ended up marrying his sister, and that was her. And we did a lot of stuff together. Jill, I've known, and my folks knew Jill before Jimmy did, with Kathy Cofton always at that time. So it's a very small world now, and then and it's a tough one to go. Okay, you want to start this thing, Sean? Let her rip.
We'll give it a toast.
We'll get a little toast after it's over with.
This is a photo slideshow we're going to do for my father here. The song is the parting glass from the movie The Waking of Ned Devine. So we'll just do a moment of silence and give a toast to my father.
thank all of you for coming here from UW Police Department, Kirkland, criminals, attorneys, and lawyers. All knew Jimmy well. And I'd like to give a lot of special thanks to Joe. Let's start with Kathy Corlia. I always knew where Kathy cooked it, no, but I could never say her new last name. Okay, my daughter Jenny and Bryce put this stuff together. Hang on, this is easier this way. Who put this together, but John and all the help people giving them. Is this working? Oh yeah. All right. Okay. I don't do this very often. Okay. Then there's Patty Ball and Chief Eric Olson. That's the Kirkland Police Department. I did play softball for you guys one time with Jimmy. Who's that guy that was Borchini's? Who's the Italian that played at that time? That was way Is he here? I remember doing that. Oh, good memory. And Andy, Gertie, and Willie Williamson, and the whole entire staff that has put this thing together have been very kind. And as Jimmy has said, it's almost 4 o'clock. Let's hit the Baronoff and pound them down.
Thank you all again for coming, and be sure to obviously grab a memorial card as well. And there's also you'll see a little business card on the front there that allows you to access all those photos that you saw on the slideshow online. So feel free to grab one of those as well. And I guess we'll just keep the stories going, and from there, no microphone involved, but we'll just kind of talk amongst friends, and definitely want to meet some of you guys too. I've been kind of haven't slept in 3 days, so just bear with me. But I definitely want to meet some of the people I haven't met yet. So thank you again. Thank you all for coming.